There are so many myths and misconceptions around self love, and we're here to break them down for you.
Before we begin, what's one common misconception about self-love that you believed in the past but later realized wasn't true?
For me, as a child, my parents divorced when I was 4 years old. And so that meant that I lived in two totally different houses because of my parents being divorced. My mother was lower class with a dysfunctional family, and my father was middle class, and he didn't really spend a lot of time with his family. But they both exhibit the same behaviors of people pleasing because my mom, she would take care of her extended family. And she was the one that was always working, making the most money out of her family. And then she was married most of the time. So she had a second income too. And so she would help my great grandma take care of my aunt's children because my aunt has schizophrenia and couldn't take care of them. And so my mom would always be there helping out her grandmother and mother and her siblings because she was the most stable one out of her family. And my father, he was more of a people pleaser when it came to his friends and his neighbors and his work. And so he gave above and beyond to everybody around him and trying to show, what good of a person he was. And so watching that, I thought that that was the way you show love was by self-sacrifice. And for me, I realize now that that's not self-love. That's the opposite.
Mm.
Kari, what's your misconception?
Well, the only thing I could think of that I feel is a misconception of self-love for me was probably being told growing up that, and there's nothing wrong with this, it's just being told, dress really nice. Maybe my parents, for example, how they show self-love is my mom, she likes to dress really nice. And she's always talking about looking your best. And my father, he likes to keep his house clean, and he values self-love through work and rewards afterwards. So there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, you want to have good hygiene, you want to look nice and all that. I guess for me saying how they value self-love is through maybe validations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying they don't have inner self-love. It's just that's what they always told me. You know, for me, my life growing up, I always felt insecure and I always felt like I wasn't worth anything. Regardless if I dressed nice, I could dress nice and still feel like crap. Even if I worked at a job, I still feel like, oh, you know what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, that's showing self-love, but I think it's a misconception because real self-love comes from within, not, external factors. So that's my experience with misconceptions of self-love. Yeah.
Yeah, when you were saying that about like keeping the clean house, like my mom, she oh my God, she was all about having a clean house. Like
Hmm.
she would stay on top of us and it was all about how the house looked all the time.
Right.